London is a wonderful city. Anyone can make it if they try hard enough. All of London's children have access to equally well-resourced schools. When people gain jobs, they are reasonably paid, the rents are fair, and the quality of housing in London is high. Healthcare is amongst the best funded in Europe, thanks to taxation of the City of London. Transport in London works well and is affordable. You can safely cycle around this city. People are not overworked. Career progression is always possible. The police treat all Londoners equally and are well respected everywhere. Londoners elderly enjoy a good standard of living, even those without savings. There are hardly any homeless people in London. Prostitution is rare. The best off in society respect others' rights and know their own responsibilities and don't take more than their fair share. London produces goods and services of such great value to the rest of the world that it more than pays its way in the world. It offers reasonably priced higher education to people in the world and inside England, and cheap train travel to escape the city if you want to go to the countryside. All these claims are untrue. Schooling in London is the most divided within Europe. This is one thing which in polite society we don't talk about. It is always interesting to watch commentators on the BBC pretend their children go to state schools, but they don't. We have an apartheid in our schooling system in London. Income inequalities in this country are the highest that they are in Europe. The best off 10% take 28% of all income. Half of that is taken by just the best off 1%. London leads that, but it isn't because London is special. This is a very, very unequal country. The country, and London in particular, thrives and keeps on going because people come here with hope, and in particular they come to London with hope of a better life. They come with their qualifications that they've earned elsewhere in Europe and other places. They come willing to work very hard, and they come hoping to build a good life, and most of them fail to do that. London loses almost as many people as come in, but it is growing. A few people cash in, most don't. London is not easy to understand. It is not easy to know why we are living in the most unequal city of the large cities of the rich world. It is not easy to understand why London has become so unequal at the moment. This was the city of empire, and I think this matters. This was the largest city on the world just 100 years ago. This is the city that is having to adjust to no longer receiving the tribute that it got from empire, which this city never really understood was its main income for so very long. This city told itself that it was working hard and it was producing the goods that made it so rich, despite the fact that half the world was coloured pink. In the 1970s and 1980s, when London was much more equal, when the country was much more equal, people who saw their advantage from empire reduce became very angry, and they funded think tanks and other organisations to tell you that this was all wrong, that you should accept growing inequality, that it was good, that it was fine if we have a high level of inequality because it rewards success and it penalises failure. We have had a 40-year experiment in what happens if you do this. They tell you that there is no alternative, this is how the rest of the world works. They do not want you, though, to look at the rest of the world, to look at how children are schooled elsewhere in Europe, to look at what the average incomes of average families are in other countries which are higher, to look at the cost of public transport which is lower, to look at people's ability to start and raise a family, to look at how much less rents are in all those places which have rent regulations. They don't want you to know that it is possible to live a very different life than the life that we are currently living in London. I think this is coming to an end. I think the Panama Papers will show this coming to an end because they reveal what many of us always knew and suspected, but what we're now going to get dripping out week after week after week because so many hundred journalists do not spend so long on so many papers and not produce hundreds of thousands of news stories that are to come. London has a choice over where it's going to go. Does London want to become the plaything for billionaires of the world? Does London want to have a government whose aim is to increase house prices in London to the highest they can get to, because the government sees high house prices as a sign of success? And if you cannot afford to live in this city, it means you're not good enough. I think we're at a turning point. I think it's become so extreme that I think it's understandable why the anger has risen about this. And all people are asking for is to have what people in other cities in Europe already have, which is a degree of respect for each other which is decent, which we lost some time ago.